Welcome to this week's Keep Texas Read article, How to Vet Political Candidates, A Voter's Guide to Asking the Right Questions, by Joseph Vargas. Campaign seasons overflow with patriotic speeches, emotional promises, and emphatic commitments to conservative principles. Small government advocates, anti-tax reformers, and pro-liberty candidates often energize voters. Yet once in office, some support big government policies, tax hikes, or special interest priorities that betray campaign promises. Local races are no exception. Many city, county, and state candidates run on fiscal responsibility, but later vote for higher spending and taxes. School board members who pledge to remain nonpartisan may later embrace ideological agendas, controversial curricula, or bureaucratic waste. Electing the right Republican matters. Electing a fragile Republican who caves to Democrat ideology erodes conservatism and paves the way for future Democrat victories. Because left-leaning activists increasingly seek local power, often concealing their affiliations, it's essential for conservative voters to vet candidates carefully before voting. While voters can't know exactly how a candidate will act in office, scenario-based questions may reveal their values, judgment, and decision-making patterns. Why do scenario-based questions matter? It's easy for candidates to make broad claims about values. The real test is how they would act when pressured, challenged, or faced with compromise. Scenario-based questions, beginning with, "What would you do if?" or "How would you vote if?" force candidates to show how they would apply principles in real-world situations. Their answers reveal consistency, courage, and judgment far better than campaign slogans. The following are examples of scenario-based questions that can be adapted to suit your specific community or upcoming elections. Sample scenario-based questions. For city council candidates, how would you decide which federal grants to accept or reject without compromising local autonomy? If fellow council members or city staff pressured you to vote for unnecessary spending, how would you respond? With extra city revenue, would you refund taxpayers, save for future needs, or expand programs? How would you handle activist demands to cut police funding? For county commissioner candidates, if property appraisal values rise, increasing taxes for homeowners, what actions would you take to balance county funding while protecting residents from tax spikes? How would you respond to federal or state mandates that infringe on county authority? For school board candidates, what is your stance on political or ideological content in classrooms? How would you address explicit or inappropriate books in school libraries? How would you respond if activist groups pushed DEI, ESG, changing school names, or politically charged initiatives? How would you ensure curriculum transparency and parent involvement? How would you prioritize new funds, classrooms and teachers, or administrative expansion? How would you address burnout or pay concerns to retain good educators? For sheriff candidates, who does the sheriff ultimately answer to? The government or county citizens? How would you handle the enforcement of unconstitutional orders or mandates? How would you respond if political groups demanded ideological policing changes? What would you do if the state passed a gun law violating the Constitution? For state representative candidates, should surplus funds go to tax relief, debt reduction, or new programs? How would you respond if party leaders urged you to support a bill limiting free speech or religious liberty? How would you handle state laws that burden local governments without funding? For judges and district attorney candidates, do you believe the Constitution should be interpreted according to its original meaning, or as a living document that evolves? What is your view on judicial activism versus judicial restraint? How would you respond to a local or out-of-state activist group attempting to coerce you to prosecute or convict someone based on leftist ideology? In conclusion, Scenario-based questions allow voters to see beyond rehearsed speeches and detect character, conviction, and courage. Asking, "What would you do if?" reveals whether candidates truly stand on conservative and constitutional principles or bend under pressure. Ultimately, an informed voter doesn't just listen to campaign slogans, they dig deeper. By asking tough, realistic questions, citizens ensure that elected officials stay accountable to the people, not political agendas. For more information, visit keeptexasred.org and don't forget to sign up for our newsletter.